Hey, what's up, folks? How y'all doing? It's Savior here, and today I have another decklist profile video for you guys. So this is Yamato, the new yellow starter. She came out about a couple weeks ago, and really good leader. I'm actually enjoying the leader. So far on my main deck right now. But so here's my deck profile list. So first off, we have our leader Yamato. She basically, he. I don't know how you guys pronounce it. I just say she a lot, but she, he. Who knows? If you call her One Piece and you know who she is or he is, you decide. But this character has a nice effect. It's a really good lead effect. When you're at 2 life, you put a Dawn under, and then you basically be at 6k, just like having a little Whitebeard defense in the late game. So I love this leader. Very good leader, and definitely recommend it. You just have to play your Dawn smart because you do have to use a Dawn under her, well, at least one Dawn, and then your effect will happen once you have 2 life. If you had 3 life and you have a Dawn under, you'll be at 5. But once you take the life away and you're at 2, the effect automatically works and you're at 6. So, yep, love the leader. Very good. So we'll just leave the leader right there for now, so you guys can know what leader we're talking about. So our next, what's it called? All right, so our next, should I say, our first character is we're gonna start with one cost all the way to events. So we have our one cost. So we're doing the 4 puddings. Obviously, you need a searcher in this deck, the only searcher so far, and very good card. It's also a 1K counter, and then you can search up to top 4 cards for Big Mom Pirates or Sanji, which we'll get to the Sanji soon. But definitely recommend it. I mean, everyone runs pudding in yellow right now, so yeah, pudding's very good. Very good card. Okay, counter from the searcher. Our next one cost is Strusen. So Strusen here is his effect. You pitch what's it called? You pitch a card with a trigger, and then you what's it called? Once you play it, you pitch a card with trigger to KO one cost or less. So if you're going against Law, if you want to get rid of their one cost to clear the board, you may. Uh, I do suggest it like early game wise. Don't always do it because you only have 4 Strusens, and it could be a little risky because also he's a 2K counter and a very good 2K counter. So yeah, I mostly use him for 2K counters, but when we're against Law, I might use him once for the to clear the board, but it depends on the situation. But mostly use it for 2K counter, but a really good card. So very good card. Love it. Our next card is should I say our next set is a Sanji. The Sanji is a 2K counter, and what's it called? Also, has a really good effect. So he could basically you play him, and then next time you would attack with him, you have to use 2 Dawn. You swing for 5 at lead or the character, and then you use the effect. You can take from the top or bottom of the life, and then you can add the top deck card to your top of your life. It can't be bottom, unfortunately, but definitely from the. But definitely you can take the bottom or top. You just don't know what it is though, so you just gotta take it. Like whatever you take, you just take it, and then you just put the top deck card, and then put it on top of the life. So very good effect. Usually play it on first turn if you have it. If it's against red, then it's possible they might play Vista or who knows. I mean, they can't play Marco yet because they'll be have 3 Dawn. So, but I'm sure if they have like a Vista, then yeah, you kind of yeah they kind of get you. But very good card. Love the effect. Has a 2K counter as well. It's also searchable by pudding, so that's why this card is a definite very good 2K counter. So move on to that. Our next is another pudding. So I run 4, obviously 4 2K counter puddings. Unfortunately, this card is not searchable, but is a good 2K counter and has a good effect. I usually play this card if I have no turn 2 play, so at least I can look at my life when they swing. Unless they're playing Katakuri, then if they swing and look at the top of the life, then I mean it depends. But if they're playing Cat and it's a good card, then they most likely might put it at the bottom. But who knows? But I'll get to that in a second. But this is a 2K counter. Very good card. You can look at the top of your life or your opponent's life. Very very good good effect. Yep. And you can also put it at the bottom, or you can put it at the top. It's really good. And yeah, so 2K counter pudding not searchable unfortunately because you can't search the pudding, but you need this for 2K counter, so place that at 4 right there. And then next we have the one of the main guys. We got Parasparrow. Four Parasparrows. So Parasparrow, this is a very good card. A definite play when you're at 3 Dawn, because if your opponent gets rid of it, KOs it, should I say, you can search your top 3 and take a Big Mom Pirates into your hand. You can't take Sanji, though. That's only for putting, but this is for Big Mom Pirates. So, and obviously it has a good trigger as well. So when you get played off trigger, you trash a card and you just play it down. Really good trigger, because then it helps you get a character that you can swing on board. But then if they KO it, you get a free card. Hopefully you don't whiff. But very good card. Unfortunately, it has no counter, but it's a 3 cost, 3/5. Very good card. You definitely need 4 of these. Recommend it. So yeah, let's go to our next cost. So moving on, still at the 3 cost. Our next 3 cost is Brule, our main blocker, the only blocker so far for the yellow meta. So for Brule, has a 1K counter, 3/1. It's best to get this off trigger. Only play this if you're in a bad situation, but definitely, obviously, definitely play this if you get off trigger, because it could definitely change the game a lot, literally. So, and you don't have to trash a card too. You can just play it off trigger. So it's a really good card. I love it. 1K counter. So yeah, play 4 of those. You definitely need 4 of those. Our next 3 cost is Yamato. I just run 2 of these. 2K counter. I normally don't play it. It's like a smoothie effect, which I'll get to smoothie in a bit. Where when you swing, you take the life from the top life and add to your hand, and then he gains 5, not 5, gains plus 2,000 attack power, so you can swing for 5. But I normally don't use this card unless I have no other play. But mostly use this card for a 2K counter. Fortunately, not searchable from putting, but it's really good to have this as a 2K counter. So definitely run 2 of these. Now, our next cost, which we're now going into the 4s, is a smoothie. So we're going to run 2 smoothies. Very good card. You can play this off trigger, but it has the same effect as Parasparrow. You trash a card from your hand, and you can play it. Has a 1K counter. It's a 4/5 swinger. You can also use its effect where you swing, you gain plus 2,000, but you have to take the top life and add it to your hand. So you're basically losing a life, but you're adding a card to your hand. So not bad, but I do recommend this early or late game. Definitely mid game. But obviously, you definitely play this card off trigger if you need any board, if you have no characters on board. But it's a 1K counter, so really good card. But we'll get to that in a sec. After the deck profile. Our next 4 cost is one of the mains. We have 4 Katakuris. The 4/6, and it has a very good effect. What's it called? You could, what do you call it? You can look at the top of your opponent's life or your own life on play, and it also gains rush. But unfortunately, you have to have less life than your opponent for it to gain rush. But you can use the check life effect anytime on play. You could just play it and then use the check life effect, and then that's it. But if you have less life, then definitely play this because it has a rush attack. So a very good card. No counter, unfortunately, but it's a 4/6 swinger. Could easily be KO'd in certain ways, or bottom decked. But good card. Definitely run 4 of these. I did try 2 before, but I realized that this changes the game running 4. So yeah, definitely run 4 of these Katakuris. I love it. All right, our next 4 costs is one of my favorites. Whoops, sorry for that. Is a Cracker. So we got 4 Crackers. One of the main cards as well. I love Cracker. So Cracker is 4/5. Play this off trigger, and you have to trash the card, unfortunately, just like Paro and Smoothie. And he's a 1K counter. And if your opponent has less life, you have to add a Dawn on him. And then, well, you don't have to add a Dawn, but when your opponent has less life, add a Dawn on him. He gains plus 1,000, and he's double attack. So put a Dawn on him. You have less life than your opponent. You swing. You're swinging for 7, not 6, and double attack as well. That puts pressure into your opponent, so they have to basically use at least 2 cards or their blocker to prevent the double attack. this definitely threatens your opponent a lot. Unless you're playing against Law, and they haven't took life yet, they're definitely gonna take life. But really good strong card, 1K counter. Again, once again, it's good from trigger. You can play this card from hand as well. But getting this card from trigger is very very good early game. So yeah, 4 crackers, definitely recommend it. All right. Whoops, I apologize. Our next 4 cost and our last 4 cost is 2 of Baron Tamago. He's just a vanilla 4/6, 1K counter. Definitely recommend it. You can also use Charlotte Opera as well. They're both literally exactly the same. Big Mom 4/6, vanilla 1K. So it's good to have like a vanilla in case you gotta play the vanilla. So 2 of them 1K counter. And then we have a main star that people eventually don't like. I don't know why, but I'm actually starting to get why. But we got 4 Yamatos. This Yamato, very good card. It's a 5/7 vanilla 1K counter. If you play this off on curve, you play this on turn 3, then it's very good because it's a 5/7, and the opponent's going to have to do a lot to KO it or minus the cost or what's it called or bottom deck it. For example, if you're going against like someone who's playing black and they have Sakazuki, I mean they could Sakazuki this on their turn with 6 Dawn, but then remember that's 6 Dawn, and then they have to pitch a card. That's it. That's their turn. And they get rid of the Yamato, unfortunately, but they probably just gonna swing at you once, and that's it. Their turn's over. So forces them to put a lot of Dawn. But a very good card. I love this card. Definitely play this when you can. But if not, then you can use it for a 1K counter. But I run 4 of these. Not searchable, unfortunately. So apologize for not mentioning the searchable parts. So you got Tamago, Smoothie, you got Parasparrow, Katakuri, Cracker. They're searchable with Pudding. And then obviously we have Big Mom here. He's another main card. Searchable as well from, what's it called? Parasparrow and Pudding. I can explain that soon. But 4 Big Mom, 7 cost, a very good card because once you have this card and you have 7 or 8 Dawn, just play it. If you didn't lose a lot of life, unless you lost like 3 or 4 life in like 2 turns, then that's unfortunate. But if you play this when you in the mid game, uh, and your opponent's like in a tough spot, definitely play it because then they gotta ditch the life or they give you a life. This could definitely help with games as well. It's a big swinger. What's it called? Obviously it can get bottom decked easily and all that by Mihawk, or you can get Flame Emperor by Ace. But again, that's a lot of Dawn they gotta pitch. But this card is very good. Your opponent chooses what's it called? If they lose a life or you gain a life. So it's a very good pressure and aggro. I love this card. It's a very good Big Mom card. Definitely run 4 of these. Definitely, I recommend. This is the beef right here, the beefy card. And then our last card, which is gonna be events now. We're running 4 arrows. This is a very good card for late game because once you have 2 life, you can use this card and it's -3 to that character for the turn. So if you're going against someone who's restanding, for example, you're going against Rob Lucci, you could use it on the leader because then there'll be -3 for the whole turn. So if they want to pitch 2 to restand and swing, they're going to be swinging for less than normal because of this card. But other than that, this is a very good card. Could definitely help defend your board or your leader. It's also a trigger, the same as Ikoku, where you trigger this and you ditch 2 cards, trash it, and then you gain a life. So, but I normally don't really use that much. I normally just take it. But if there's like a situation where I have to get another life, then I will do it. If I have a lot of cards, but then there's cards that I'm not going to really play or they have no counters, then you can use it. Uh, but it's really good to have 4 of these. I recommend it. I tried 2 before, but having 4 of these is much better than a difference. To be honest, it definitely changes the game a lot. But arrows are a very good card, so definitely run 4 of these. I know only 2 come in the starter, but I'm sure you can get 2 more. So, I mean, I couldn't get 2 more until recently. So, but very good card. So, yep. And then that's the Yamato deck profile. So that's all the cards. Very good leader. Yeah, I love it. I could recommend some tips if you want, so I will show you some tips. So first off, if you have a pudding from turn 1 and you go first, it's that's good because then you play the pudding and then obviously get a card. I suggest you search for what's it called, Big Mom, or what's it called, uh, a pair of Sparrow if you don't have one, a Cracker if you don't have one, or Katakuri because again, very good cards. But definitely search for the Big Mom Katakuri or the Parasparrow because after it's your next turn, you have 3 Dawn and you have a Parasparrow. Then obviously you would want to play the Parasparrow. It's a very good like curve because then you swing and then you play Paro and then you pass. Um, and then you'll still be at 5 life obviously because you swung your 3 Dawn. So having pudding Paro, that's your board. And then once you get to turn 5 and if nothing goes crazy, it's like normal or you're super ahead, your opponent couldn't do anything. Then obviously the best card to play is, give me 1 second, sorry. Your next turn is basically you swing with your leader, and then you swing with Paraspera, or the other way around depending on the situation, and then you just play the Yamato. So this would be rested. You have Yamato, and whatever cards you have in hand, if you have 2Ks, 1Ks, then you're good, because then if they have like only one swing, maybe two, defend the Paro, but then if they KO with an effect, that's fine. They KO the Paro, and then you search top 3 for a Big Mom. I I mean, I'd recommend getting a 1K to 2K counter. But if you need the Big Mom or the Katakuri, the Rush Katakuri, then grab those because you'll basically be taking life early in the game. Because if you have less life than your opponent, you got the Cracker ability, you got the Katakuri ability. You can just play and gains Rush. So there's a lot of different comps you can do with this deck. So that's basically the beginning part for going first for 1 Dawn, 3 Dawn, 5 Dawn. And then 7, you play the Big Mom if it's like not going, if it's not in a bad situation, if it's normal or you're ahead. If it's a turn 2, then obviously if you have a pudding, then you play the pudding and then you just pass obviously. Or it's again, it depends on who you play against. I need to try this deck with other leaders. I've only tried it for like at least half the leaders in this set. Uh, what's it called? Or if you have a Sanji, you can play a Sanji for 2 and then pass. If you're going against red, there's no way they can KO the Sanji unless they Fire Fist, which they're pitching a card, and they're only Fire Fisting 1 card, which instead of 2 because you only have 1 on the board. Or they play a Vista, which I'm sure the Vista is only from a Whitebeard deck or what's it called, or Law. Not every Law player has Vista in their deck. That's like classic Law right there. But there's no Vista in any Ace or Whitebeard deck. Maybe in the Zora, who knows? But it depends. But that's like the only way this can get killed, unless they play Dofi and they're playing Teach and they bottom deck this. Then that's unfortunate. But again, that's a lot they have to commit to get rid of the Sanji. Because once it's your turn, you have 4 Dawn. You can just swing 5 and take the top life, right? And then you just add obviously, or the bottom life, and then you add the top card of your deck and put it at the top of your life, and then you just swing 7 for your lead, obviously, and then they take the life or they block it. It depends on the situation. Or you don't have to swing with him if you have 4. If you have a Paro in your hand, then swing 6 with your lead, and then just play the Paro and then pass. And if the Sanji's still on board, that's perfect. Perfect. But if not, then whatever they trigger or they use, they have to KO the Sanji, which they'll probably play a Marco, which forces them to play the Marco, and then the Sanji will be gone, unfortunately. But then that's already 5 Dawn, and they'll just be swinging 5 or 6 if they're playing red. But again, it depends on who you're playing against. But Sanji's a good play to do. If you have him, definitely play Sanji or Pudding. Again, it depends on your hand. If you don't have that many good cards, so you can play early, and you have a Pudding searcher, then play the Pudding so you could what's it called? So you can get a card. Hopefully, it'll give you a good top 4 card. But if you have nothing you can play on first turn with 2 Dawn, but you have the starter Pudding, yeah, this is the regional one. Yeah, I'll show you the difference. If you have the starter Pudding, then just play the starter Pudding. I know you lose a 2K counter and it's a 2-3, but at least you get to check at the top of your life or the opponent's life. But mostly you want to do your life because when your opponent swings, if they're not playing Katakuri, um, then whatever you'll know what life you have, so you can either take it or trigger it, or if you want to put it in the bottom, you can. But then it'll be a mystery on the first life because you put the top life to the bottom. If it's Katakuri, then they'll most likely look at the life, or they'll just look at their life. It depends. They have to choose. For Katakuri players, it's a 50-50. But for you, you know what's the card. So if it's a trigger, then that's perfect because then you can choose. You can decide which you want to obviously trash from your hand early. If it's a Paro, Smoothie, a Cracker. If it's a Brulee, that's even better because then you have an early blocker, which they're gonna have to use a lot of resources to get rid of. So yeah, I do. If this is only if you have no play and you're going with 2 Dawn. If you have no play but this pudding, just play the pudding. But then obviously don't always play it. But just play it so you can at least see the top life, because maybe you can decide if you want to trigger that or keep it. But most likely you're gonna trigger the card, and so you can have a body on the field. But at least you'll know which card that's a trigger. If it's Smoothie, Paro, Brulee, or Cracker, so you'll know what you can decide on the mid game. So definitely use this card if you have no other play. No Sanji, no Pudding, nothing. If you can't play anything, just play the card. But if you want to pass, I completely understand. If you have a bad hand, like say this Pudding's the only card you have, and you have a Para, a Big Mom, Katakuri, and then you have a Pudding Searcher, then just play the Pudding, get the better card, and then pass. But if you want to just pass, then go right ahead. But I usually just play this card when I have no other play, no Sanji, no Pudding. But those are the tips I suggest so far. Also, when you're at 4 Dawn and when your opponent swings at you, you have 4 life. They have 5 if they have the 5 life. If you have a Katakuri, just play the Katakuri because obviously, what's it called? You have Rush, so you'll basically be swinging twice. So to either take the 2 life or to take the 1 life, and then use a card to counter, or they'll counter both. But if you have 4 Dawn and then you have less life because your opponent will most likely swing for you, and they have 5, you have 4, and boom, you have this card. Just play it, and then you just swing, and then you just swing. Basically, you have 2 swingers already, so it's really good, and you have a good 1K, 2K, decent hand, and you can defend the Katakuri unless it gets bottom decked or KO'd. But yeah, but it's up to you. But I really love this deck profile, and hopefully this helps out. If you want to change it up, let me know. Or you can change it up, go right ahead. If you want any suggestions you want to leave to me, go right ahead. If this helped you win locals, or at least did really well, go right ahead. My recent local, I went 3-1 with this deck. You will see my upcoming videos of the locals with this deck. But yeah, so leave in a comment below any suggestions you want to leave, or anything I should try, or have any questions about this deck profile. I appreciate it. But thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully this deck profile helps you out. I will update this deck profile when OP-04 comes out, because I'll be making a few changes, like the 9 cost. I'm definitely adding that, so stay tuned. But you guys have a good rest of your day. Goodbye, guys.